What is going on, everybody? It's Carson. I forgot to hit record on my phone when I started building this, so I've lost like the first 5 minutes into the void, but what do you do? So it's a little bit of a scuffed video. We have set 76409 Gryffindor House banner. I was sitting here talking to myself, not even recording it. I purchased a handful of these. I mean, I haven't done too much. Luckily, it's just a little bit of stuff, so you didn't miss out on much. I was building Harry because I forgot to build him at the beginning, and then I noticed how the bozo here didn't hit record on his phone. But yeah, I was just saying I bought a handful of these because I got one of each banner not too long ago. There was double VIP on like select Harry Potter stuff and some other sets that I don't really build or anything like that. So I'm not like the biggest Legos Harry Potter fan, but my girlfriend is, so I figure even if I'm the one to build them, there's Harry. Even if I'm the one to build them, you know, they'll still be there and we can see them and kind of have them. I don't know. I don't even know how the word's supposed to work there. But man, I feel like I'm going to repeat myself a bunch, but as far as you guys know, it's the first time I've said it. But was just kind of saying, you know, hope everybody's having a good Monday. I know Monday's not the popular day for having good days, just because, you know, you get the Sunday scaries, back to work, back to school, whatever your responsibilities might entail. And it's not very fun sometimes just, you know, kind of attack the week like that when you're still like enjoying the weekend mentally, you know? So it's something, you know, I get. I also deal with having those Sunday scaries. The nice thing about, you know, those scaries and kind of dealing with them, we always have the power to have a better day, whether it be giving yourself a little pick-me-up in terms of like a treat, like a beverage on the way to work, going out to lunch, going out to dinner. That's what my girlfriend and I are going to do. We're going to get a local spot tonight called Burger Bar. That place is great. They got nice big hamburgers, really good fries. They make good milkshakes, but I am lactose intolerant. Not to say I don't eat or consume dairy products. There's just, you know, times where you have to pick your battles on if you want to deal with the consequences or not. And for whatever reason, you know, milkshakes, like ice cream, cheesecake, those really dense dairy products, they be doing some type of thing to my internal organs. So it's kind of like a weekend thing where I'll take on that burden of the lactose intolerance punishment, just because I gotta work, you know, and it's hard to be doing my job while I'm on the toilet. Because right now, what I do, I work at Fidelity Investments, and I'm an inbound phone rep in the retirements department. So, you know, people are calling in about their retirement accounts, small business plans, stuff like that. And I help them kind of like decide what's best for them to do in this situation that they're in, place trades for them, if they're needing help placing trades, all that good stuff. But yeah, it's not so easy to do that job if you have, you know, to keep running back and forth to the bathroom, believe it or not. This thing is coming together very weird, but I know it always ends up making sense. It's just the way they trick you. But yeah, anyways, back to my tangent. You know, I get having bad days. I've had plenty of bad days in my life, and I'm sure I'm going to have plenty more. But something I like to think of is, you know, you can have so many bad days and reminisce on them and, you know, just sit there and think about how bad it is, how bad the future's going to be. But at the end of the day, you know, it's just setting yourself up for another bad day, another bad week, another bad month, whatever you want to say. And so while I do understand that life isn't easy all the time, what's happening? Did I mess? Oh no. Am I tripping? But I am tripping a little bit. We just got to do a little rearranging here, I think. I think if we just do this, perhaps. That should fix it up. Yep. I lost my train of thought. All I know is I was talking about bad days and good days. I don't know. Something along the lines of you can have so many bad days and sit there and think about them. Or something that my therapist likes to tell me is it's not always a bad thing to have bad days, because that lets you know that, or it lets you realize what the good days are like, how the good days continue to happen, whether or not the bad days are taking over, I guess is a way you could say it. But it's hard to, as I'm sure, anybody knows, it's hard to focus on anything good when there's bad happening, which I understand. Like I said, had my fair share of bad days, and I'm sure I'm going to have my fair share of more. But it's kind of how you embrace them, of what changes, the outcome. Do I fully believe in what I'm saying? Nah, that's up for debate. But is this real? This looks like doo-doo. Okay, something's wrong. While it may kind of sound just like some mumbo jumbo, it all ends up having meaning, Man, this part is tripping me up. And, a nice thing too is surrounding yourself with good people that understand, people that can, relate, and people that can help walk you through stuff, talk about whatever you need to talk about, because the world is not an easy place. And I'm a big hypocrite here because I don't know a lot of people and don't make a lot of friends. But, the few people I do consider friends and do let into my life, they are very kind. They help me get through hard things. All that good stuff, not to be all sappy. Man, this is... Okay, that took way too long. But, there's perks to isolating yourself, but I think most importantly, there is a lot of detriments to isolating yourself. And whether it be one person, whether it be your family member, anything helps, Because you can sit there and dwell on all the bad all you want and have no one to talk to about it. Or you could talk about it. And I think that's the most important thing, is just to realize that you don't have to shoulder it all. If you're curious about this one wasn't my fault. Unlike last time when I was talking about me cutting myself when I was doing dinner. Just yesterday, Sunday, we have a cat, our cat named Tommy. He's a beautiful little boy. I love him. He's basically my son. But him being a beautiful little boy means that he has a very large mane of hair everywhere. Like, he's just a very fluffy cat. And sometimes when he's using the restroom, that fluffy hair fights him. And when I say that, he sometimes, he'll kick litter up before he's done, or there'll be a little bit left over, and he'll kind of crystallize it into his hair. Not fun to deal with, obviously. So he jumps into our bed, and we're sitting there, and I start, trying to take a little whiff. Like I just breathe in, and I get a little whiff of something. It smells like somebody pooped their pants. And then I see Mr. Tommy bend over, maybe not bend over, but like get into grooming position, and he starts going at his butt, and I'm like, he has a dingleberry. So I'm sitting there telling my girlfriend how he has a dingleberry, and then she kicks him off the bed, and I'm like, well, I'm awake now. That smell woke me right up. And so she goes out there and she's playing with him because we thought that it was kind of sorted after we left him alone for a little bit. And so she's sitting there kind of like playing with him. I think he was like scooting along the ground or something like that. And she notices that there's some poop smearing onto our laminate. And so I hear her scream, "You're so gross." And I'm like, oh no, what happened? And so I go out there and she's thrown him in the sink trying to clean him. And I mean, like, I get it because he did stink really bad, and I don't know if he was going to be able to get it on his own. And so I go out there and she's like, "Can you help me?" And of course I'm like, yeah, I understand. That's not the easiest thing because he, like most cats, he's not a huge fan of getting drenched in water. And so I go there just to hold him, like hold his side, or, you know, kind of just like make sure he's not squirming around or trying to scratch anything. He's a very sweet cat, you know. He normally doesn't bite, scratch, attack, hiss, most of that stuff. But boy, when he's being faced with some water, my man turned into a devil, to say the least. And so I am holding him for a maximum of I don't know, 5 seconds, if that. And he's mad, obviously. Again, you know, he's in the water, he's not having it. And so I look away just to say something or something like that, and then all of a sudden he gets me. He bites me so hard, and he will not let go. I'm sitting there trying to pull my arm away, and I cannot get away from him. So he's, you know, in my arm for a good 5 or so seconds, and eventually he lets go. And that was kind of the end of the story. You know, he kind of just tanked the rest of the bath like a champ. We got it out so he didn't stink no more. He was a little bit traumatized because I think that was the first time, at least since we've had him, where he's been, I don't want to say forced because that kind of sounds messed up, but for lack of a better term, you know, he was forced to have that bath and forced to be in the water that he probably did not love so much. Excuse me. And so he was traumatized for a little bit after that, but like I said, you know, he's a sweet little cat, so he came around and he was fine, and he was playing with us and being his good old affectionate self. We like to call him basically a dog. He's a cat that should have been a dog. That piece went flying. Because, and the reason I say that is because any trait that you think of like a dog having, you know, like being affectionate, licking you, what have you, you know, stuff that dogs do, letting you pick him up, all that good stuff. You know, he loves it. He loves being given all the attention. He loves getting loved on. He loves licking people. Well, he loves licking me. Doesn't love licking a ton of people. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we love him. He's a really good cat. That was a long-winded way of saying that he had a dingleberry and he bit me. But now you know the story, so I guess that's what counts. Let's do this. But is this how the other one looked? I'll take your word for it. That looks wrong though. Oh, it is wrong. Okay. This is supposed to go there. Oh, brother. This guy stinks. Oh, man. But I'm hoping to do more of these. You know, it's kind of fun just hanging out, talking to myself, building Legos. What is going on, bro? Bro doesn't know how to build a Lego to save his life. Oh, bruh. But I don't know. Let me know kind of what you think about it, if you enjoy it, things like that. Because I mean, like I said, you know, I'm enjoying this type of, you know, format or whatever you want to call it, of doing videos, just chilling, hanging out, building some Legos. Happy to keep doing it if you like it. My thought process is, I have a handful of small sets to build, and those are kind of like easy just to knock out in one sitting, like this one and those other banners and a couple other small sets. But I do want to build some bigger sets, and my initial thought is just doing multiple parts to, said build or said videos. So like, for example, I have, the AT, not the Ultimate Collector, the one that I talked about, in the last video. And so that one, I know it's over 1,000 pieces, and I'm not trying to sit down and blast that all out in one sitting. But so, like my thought process is I can just have multiple days of videos, of me building it, me talking, anything like that. Just because, again, it would make for a very long video, for one, and two, I don't know if I could sit there and talk that long. I guess what I could do is speed up the video too in certain spots where I'm not talking, or maybe I am talking and I just speed it up still. That would always be an option. But again, if you want to leave some input on what you think might sound better, let me know. This set, I honestly thought was going to be a good amount easier. So, it's not like it's hard. I've made my handful of mistakes, as you can tell. And it all started, I started on a bad note, I guess, to be fair to myself. I've looked down 5 minutes in, realizing that I never hit record on my phone to start recording. Kind of a bozo moment. It is what it is. It's coming together, though. It's always weird kind of seeing how these things work out, because you look at it at first and you're like, this looks dumb. And then you kind of start getting more and more to the end, and you're like, all right, I get it. Oh, freaking punch it too. My next candidate for a video, if you will, is, well, it's kind of hard to decide. The main barrier at this point of me, making more videos or building more Legos, anything like that, is, I think I mentioned this before, but just the lack of space to put them. I think because, again, we already have 5 shelves that are completely full of Legos between me and my girlfriend, mainly me. And there's not really much more space for more shelves or more Legos on the existing shelves. So that's kind of the conundrum. So I'm thinking, it's kind of just a thought, probably won't actually come and be done. I don't know how to word what I'm trying to say, but like be acted on, I suppose, is what I'm trying to think of. Is kind of maybe not fully dismantling some certain sets, but just ones that are like, I kind of just bought to buy because they were cheap, it looked fun, and I did it. And so I would just kind of sort of take them apart, put them in a bag, and just keep them, build them another time, some other time, whatever, Make room for the cool ones, that can be displayed a little bit easier. But at the end of the day, I got no idea what I'm going to do. But that's what life's for. Figuring out what you want to do, making a whole lot of mistakes, giving up, trying again. What do you do? It's like what oh brother, no, Sean, I'm forgetting his name, Alfred from Batman says. Doesn't matter about like getting knocked down or whatever, just matters about getting back up. And boy, oh boy, he ain't wrong. We can say that, I'm sure. But like I said, hope everybody has a good start to their week. My girlfriend, I already said that actually. I'm not gonna sit there and say that. Well, maybe I can't even remember what got recorded and what didn't now, so I won't say it anyways. But a decent Monday to start up the week. Can't complain too much. It's not the end of the world, so that's always good. It's sometimes just hard for me to grasp that I'm not planning on leaving my job just because they are very nice. They help take care of me as like an employee. They pay well, all that good stuff. It's more so just, it's hard to believe that potentially my next X amount of years is working there. You know, because who knows how long I'll be there. If I get a new position that's off the phones, I'll probably extend, you know, my stay with them even more, just because it's not that I'm not gonna dance around it. I do not like being on the phones, which I'm sure if anybody does have a phone job, they would relate and understand as to why. Because sometimes people, they're just either dumb or very rude, or a combination of the two. So that doesn't help. So there's a lot of off the phone positions that I'm interested in. So that's good. Like, there's options. So I don't feel pigeonholed into being like, well, it's either this or too dang bad. And the company's very supportive of moving up and doing bigger and better things within it. So beggars can't be choosers, you know. Like I said, pays well, take care of me, good benefits. So for now, we're sticking around, and that's okay. All right, time for the moment of truth of me possibly forgetting a step. No way. Yeah, okay. I don't think that I'm gonna do all these in a row, like these house banners, just because I like to mix things up. Otherwise I kind of get bored. I'm like, yeah, I already did all this, it's just in a different color scheme. So I'm thinking I start a bigger Lego, kind of do that multiple day type of adventure that I was telling you about. But again, kind of depends on what, if anybody, you know, wants to leave input, feel free to. Kind of depends on that, on what we do. Get a little decorations in here, get my cool stuff up. I definitely missed something here. If I missed this, there's something wrong. Oh, this always happens, bro. Oh, okay, wait, this is not a big, this one I just forgot to put on right here. So that's good. But I'm still not confident about this other 2x2 that's without a home. These other little pieces I'm not worried about, but the 2x2, those ones don't normally come with an extra, so that's the concern here. I'm gonna try this video, no music? Question mark? It's a brown one. Where's the brown one? Maybe actually, I've got an idea. Nope. But I think in no music on this one, just some raw building, some raw video. I don't know. I'm sure that video adds some sort of, or not video, jeez. Oh, there it is, I see you. Oh, brother, please don't do all this. But, I mean, I'm sure music is kind of nice to have. Even if it's just, I mean, y'all got internet. If you're watching this, you can listen to your own music too. Dang, come on, bro. All right, cool. Not cool. Oh no. Okay. But yeah, I mean, let me know, you know. This is more of a come and sit and listen type of thing. My girlfriend and our mutual friend, I guess it's not my or her friend, mutual friend, were saying yesterday how they're kind of into the format, you know, because they just get to sit and listen. My girlfriend's a big advocate for me talking more just about random nothingness, and I'm not very good at that. In regards, I mean, maybe it's not so good this week, who knows, but in regards to like just babbling just to her, I don't know, because the only reason I'm comfortable enough to do this the way I am doing it, you know, with just to nothing. Who is this? But the reason I'm kind of comfortable with this is because nobody's home with me at the moment. It's just me, so I'm not sitting there thinking like, oh wow, this is awkward talking to nothing and having people hear me. So I don't know, you know. It's all a work in progress. We figure things out at our own pace. But I mean, again, this, at least the come on, man, bald. At least for now, as I was saying, I do enjoy kind of doing it this way rather than trying to do something that I'm not a big fan of or unaccustomed to, anything like that, you know? Because that kind of felt forced. Didn't really feel like I was doing what I wanted to do. It felt more of a chore than something that I was interested in doing. So that was kind of like my first step back of like, hold on, like, let's figure out what we actually like to do for videos so that we can make them more often, make them be encouraged to make them rather than dreading trying to make them. And I'm sure, you know, kind of listening in from the outside, how hard can making a YouTube video be? And I mean, oops, mistake. But it has, I mean, there's certain difficulties behind it. Figuring out how to edit everything that you want, figuring out ideas, figuring out what people want to watch. I mean, I don't know if people want to watch this, but again, it's something that I'm like, it's not a big deal. You know, I just sit here and talk and build a Lego. It's what I would do if I was building a Lego regularly, except for I wouldn't just sit there and talk to myself. Where did that come from? We're just not putting these anywhere. All right. So that's where we're at. One day at a time. Because I still am like, who knows? Maybe I end up getting burnt out here. Hopefully not, but you never know. Building a little chair right here. That's what I'm talking about, though. Like, these people be making stuff, and I'm like, in what world do you just realize, like, oh, if you put these pieces in this order, like, they're designing it to work, you know? Like, they know this is going to work. I would have never thought, I got to make 2 of these? That's a tragedy. I was not paying attention. Anyways, now that I've brought this bad news to light, but like, that's a good looking chair. I'd sit in it. Like if I was in Gryffindor, you know? It seems cozy enough. All right, chair number 2. And got to make the chessboard with 4 of these studded in to help us keep it in place. Get my sticker. If you're still sticking around, I appreciate it. I know these videos can kind of get long just because, I mean, what are we at? At least 30 minutes. Well, 29 probably. I messed this up pretty bad. And you'll learn, if you don't already know, you'll learn that I am 1, bad at placing stickers. And so then for that reason alone, 2, I do not typically like stickered sets because I suck at putting the stickers on, and I feel like it takes away from the overall build because I can't put a sticker on to save my life. Personal problem. I just feel like maybe someone out there can relate to the inability just to have steady hands. I remember when I was just a wee lad, just a kid, maybe not a kid, but I was like in my teenage years, 27 for reference now. I wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon. I thought that would be so cool. And then I realized that you need to have steady hands to be a surgeon, no matter what type of surgeon you're going to be. And that is a trait that I simply just do not possess. My hands, in this moment especially, they like to shake. Attribute it to anxiety and attribute it to whatever, but they like to shake. And if I were ever to be a surgeon, I would not be a surgeon for very long, just because I cannot keep my hands steady. The ordering of this is questionable, but it's fine. Where's my piece? I'm just looking for another. Oh, here we are. So, at the end of the day, did I end up being in a workplace that I expected to be in? No. But am I upset that I ended up here? Also no, because like I said, they take care of us as employees, which I've had a fair share of jobs. Just trying to think, maybe like, I don't know, we'll say like 8. That's probably a good rough estimate. Here we go again with the sticker issue, except for this one is not very forgiving. It is what it is, guys. It's a little wrinkled. Unlucky. I don't know. We'll say like 8. I think that's probably close to right. If it's not, what do you do? But out of all of those jobs, they were all challenging in their own way. But, with the challenge, you typically assume that there's going to be like a nice benefit. For example, I used to work in it was basically a detention center, but for troubled youth. There was people like youth that were there for violent crimes, for like theft, things of that nature. And then there was also, sexual assault. I don't want to say convicts because it wasn't technically a prison, but we'll just say convict, because I mean, not to sound rude or pessimistic or talk down upon those kids or anything, but from what I did see, they were rough kids. I mean, they had rough upbringings, they live in rough areas, so obviously that wasn't in their favor. They kind of were shortchanged to begin with. But I digress. That was one of my first really hard jobs. Because again, I mean, you're dealing with. I was in the. They were for more or less. A lot of that place was for lower functioning kids. Just whatever it could have been, impacting their. Not emotional. Man, come on. Not impacting like their emotional health, but like just their mental progression. So just kids with mental disabilities, and then there was one unit that was basically fully functioning, and then another one that they're fully functioning. They know exactly what they're doing, things like that, and they mean to do it. So that's the unit I was on, and I had a pretty good rapport with a lot of those kids. But the thing there is, even if you have a good rapport, some of these kids I just dropped a piece. They black out or something, I don't know, but for lack of knowledge here, I'll just say they black out, and whoever you are, no matter how much rapport you have with them, you are not talking them down for whatever they want to do, because they black out and they hit I don't know any other way to put it, but they got some superhuman strength when they black out. I saw one kid literally punch a plexiglass window and just break his hand. He said, like, yeah, I don't, yeah, that's all I have to say. I think that kind of shows the position that I put myself in with that job of working with those types of kids. And the reason I'm talking about that, kind of, segueing, of, you know, being treated fairly and having good benefits, stuff like that. That job, I think, paid maybe $14 an hour, maybe. And to put into another perspective, the shifts that I worked it was 2 days. And you're thinking, okay, 2 days, grow up, can't be that bad. The issue is it was the weekend and it was 2 16s. So I worked Saturday at 6 a.m. all the way until 10 p.m. And then I would do the exact same thing come Sunday morning. So it was about, I don't know, we'll say 20, 25 minutes away from where I lived at the time. So I would get off work, get home around 10:30. I used to be a chungus, so I would probably stop by like McDonald's or something just to eat my feelings away about how miserable I am at this job. And so, I messed these up. So, you know, maybe I'm stopping at McDonald's just to get some food to eat my feelings away. And so, I don't know, we'll say I'm in bed and actively trying to fall asleep by 11. Maybe that's being graceful, but regardless. And so I'm in bed by 11 and I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I have maybe 6 hours to sleep on the high end. What's going on here? On the high end, 6 hours probably, because I got to wake up and shower. Because I mean, I typically shower, but I would shower before I went to bed at that particular job. I dropped another piece. They'd just be rolling off. Oh well, I'll find it later. But yeah, I would shower before going to bed after a day of that job, because those kids, one, were nasty, and two, the in place as a whole was just kind of gross, which I'm sure you can assume just based off of the populace that lived there. And so, you know, I got to wake up, I got to get dressed, I got to bring myself to the sad reality of I'm going to work another 16-hour shift at a job I hate. So it's kind of the crux of the story of how does this work? It's supposed to slide behind these? I don't know about that. Something ain't right. That's because these are not supposed to be where they are. They're supposed to be here. Oopsie. Let's try that. But then now this is messed up. Rather unfortunate that, well, yeah, this is supposed to be one forward. But at that job, yeah, you know, it was, and the benefits were basically non-existent. It was more so just the one benefit that I was granted was having a paycheck, I suppose. And obviously that's not an incentive, that's a required thing. So yeah, to be blunt, I worked there for 3 months, and then it got to a point where, believe it or not, the kids were basically forming their own gangs within the unit, because the majority of people who live or who were at that place were, or at least in the section I was in, what's happening here? Are we closing this side? But yeah, they were basically forming gangs because, again, half of them, we'll say half, were like Native American, and the other half were just, you know, kids from like Reno, Nevada. And so it basically turned into, I don't want to say a race war, but at the end of the day, that's basically what was brewing. And so I knew that coming into the shift. I was like, man, these kids, like, today might be the day where someone pops off, and it is not something that anybody wants to deal with. Am I missing something, bro? Oh, I forgot to pull this back. tip. Okay, I understand now. And so, yeah, I mean, that's what's going on. There's a lot of bad blood on the unit. There's a kid who was like refusing to come out of the timeout room. Like, he basically started living there because he pissed off so many of the kids that they were like basically threatening to unalive him. So that was fun. And so I had one buddy there, one guy. His name was Big Dave, just Dave, you know, but him and I were homies. We worked the weekend together. He worked the first 6 hours of Sunday, or Saturday, I mean, and then he would work all Sunday with me. So he is, you know, at least for the one day, he was all in with me. And this day where I, you know, ended up walking out of the job, he wasn't there on time. He didn't call in to anybody. Nobody knew what was going on. And the unit manager, which is, you know, kind of the person who writes the schedule, is supposed to be in charge of the kids, and like we're just kind of the lackeys. She also didn't show up. No word on where she was, what's going on. And so I'm sitting there, I'm like, all right, so one, these kids are on the brink of having an entire war. Two, we need to have a dedicated staff to go sit with this kid in the timeout room. Three, I don't want to be there. It's a Sunday. I've slept, you know, a handful of hours. And so somebody from a different unit comes onto the unit that I'm on to help out. And then he's like, he's sitting there on his phone. I'm like trying to see if anybody's coming in, like hoping, you know, he's like recruiting somebody to come help out. And he's like, oh no, I'm trying to get my shift covered, man. I don't want to be here. And so in my head mentally, I'm like, all right, I'm not, like, this is the end. Like, that's the first thing that I think is this is the end. And so I'm just like in my head, like, or out loud, I'm just like, oh, okay, like, yeah, I get it. Like, it's a hard day. Do your thing. And then in my head, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I'm like, good luck calling out because I'm about to walk out. And so, I mean, looking back on it, I could have handled it a lot better, but it is what it is. You know, this is a long time ago. And so we're going to the cafeteria because it's their breakfast time. And, you know, we get there and I look at him. I'm like, hold on, I forgot something. I forgot my walkie. Because I mean, I technically did. I never ended up putting one on. And so I go back there. I grab my backpack that has like my lunch and stuff in it. I kind of like hurriedly go to the front office or whatever, like the entrance to our building. Write a little note, put my envelopes in a key, and I'm out. And at this point, I believe I had already put in my 2 weeks anyways. So, like, I was already on the way out. So that's kind of like another thing. I was like, I'm already done here. Like, as far as anybody knows, like, I have 1 week technically after this. And so I'm thinking, I'm like, whatever, dude. Like, this is not worth it. I could... And again, I mean, this may sound like an over-exaggeration, but these kids, like... they were not all there mentally. Like, they had some severe issues. And so in my head, I'm like, it is not safe for me to be in this position today, especially considering I'm basically on the floor alone because there's two of us and this guy don't even want to be here. And so I write a little note saying, like, I quit basically because no one's there to, like, because, like, again, it's a lockdown center. So we have to have special keys and everything to get into places. So I write a little note just saying, like, hey, I quit. Here's my keys. Like, let me know if you need anything else from me. And I have to scan to get out. Like, I have to scan my little key card. And so I get to the point where I'm like, I'm ready to leave, right? And I see that and I'm like, oh crap, I have to scan to get out. And so I pull out the, whatever you want to call it. I know it has a name and I know the name of it, but I'm drawing a blank. We're almost at the end here also, just so you know. Just a couple finishing pieces, but I'll wrap this up. And so, yeah, I scan the code to get out. I yeet my keys. I just throw that crap. I'm like, we're done. And so I yeet it over to the desk where, like, no kid will ever find it because they're not even allowed in that area. And so I throw that over there, and I walk out, and I go home. And it was Sunday, I remember, because my family, they weren't home because they went to church. So nobody knew what I was doing. Like, they all are, like, under the assumption I'm at work. And so my family, eventually, they get home, and they see my car there, and they're like, why are you here? And I'm like, oh, I quit. and kind of went through the whole story with them, and they're like, well, if that's what you think is best. And that was that. So one of my fun stories of bad jobs. I got another handful. Maybe another day we can talk about it. Like I said, though, this is about wrapped up, so I'm not going to be trying to do too much else. Where does this go? Look at that instruction. It's supposed to go in the fireplace? I put this on wrong, too. I'm not fixing it, though. It's one of those things, like, it is what it is, you know? It's just supposed to sit there in front of the fire? That's whack. I'm putting it up. No, I'm not putting it up there. I'll figure out something to do with it. I just hate the fact that, whatever, it can go there for now. But how do we close this, bro? Oh, okay. But yeah, I mean, so here we are. We're all done with that. Got the Gryffindor symbol on front. It's not fully closing, probably because that. There we go. So yeah, I'll fix these up, make them a little more straight. But that's the video. So if you made it this far, thanks for sticking around. I know that was a longer one, a lot of rambling. But yeah, hope you all continue to have a good Monday if you're already having one, and I'll see you next time. Bye.